When life is calm, a Sigma male moves quietly, almost invisibly, through the world. People overlook him because he isn't loud, he isn't demanding, and he never competes for attention. But the moment a crisis hits, everything shifts. The same man they barely noticed becomes the one everyone instinctively looks toward. Not because he asked for leadership, but because he carries a skill so rare and so silent that no one recognizes it until the world around them falls apart. He becomes the anchor in chaos, the strategist when others panic, the mind that sees clearly when everyone else is drowning in noise. Most people don't realize how dangerous calm intelligence until they finally witness it in motion. A Sigma doesn't break, doesn't freeze, doesn't crumble. He analyzes, adapts, and takes control without raising his voice. And the people who once underestimated him suddenly understand why he never needed to prove himself. So the question is this: why do some men fall apart under pressure, while a Sigma comes alive? Stay with this video until the end, because if you miss even one moment, you'll miss the truth about a skill that can change everything in your own life. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments, do you stay calm in chaos, or does chaos control you? Your answer will reveal more about your inner wiring than you think. And if you're new here, subscribe to UltraWise for more deep Sigma psychology and high-level insights. He stays unnervingly calm while everyone else panics, giving him an instant psychological advantage. In the first seconds of a crisis, when most people's breathing quickens and their thoughts scatter like broken glass, the Sigma male slips into a different state entirely, a state of stillness so sharp it almost feels unnatural. While fear clouds everyone else's judgment, he watches the chaos unfold with a quiet intensity, as if his mind is stepping outside the moment to view it from above. That eerie calm isn't an accident, it's instinct. It's the result of a lifetime spent observing human behavior, studying patterns, and navigating life from the edges rather than the center. Panic narrows vision. Calm expands it. And in that widening of perception, he gains the advantage before anyone even realizes what's happening. People underestimate the power of a quiet mind until they see how quickly it cuts through disorder. In this stillness, a Sigma begins analyzing long before others recover from the shock. He sees who is spiraling and who is frozen. He notices the smallest shifts, the hidden exits, the weak points, the emotional fractures forming in the room. While others are reacting, he is calculating. It's not that he doesn't feel fear, it's that he refuses to let fear decide anything. His calm becomes a shield between himself and the chaos. And ironically, his lack of panic unnerves the very people who should be grateful for his clarity. They don't understand how someone can stay so composed when everything feels like it's falling apart. But the Sigma knows something they don't. Crises don't break you, your reaction to them does. As the situation intensifies, something fascinating happens. The people who initially dismissed him start gravitating toward him, their instincts recognizing stability even if their minds don't understand it. His calm becomes contagious. His presence becomes grounding. And he speaks only when necessary, his words precise and deliberate, cutting through the noise like a blade. There is no trembling in his voice, no hesitation in his movements. He becomes the quiet axis around which other people's panic begins to settle. In that moment, leadership is not something he claims, it is something others voluntarily give him. By the time the crisis reaches its peak, he has already created mental order where others saw only chaos. That is the Sigma's hidden power. He doesn't overpower panic, he outthinks it. And the advantage he gains in those first silent seconds often becomes the difference between collapse and control, between confusion and clarity, between losing everything and walking out stronger than before. He analyzes the crisis with cold clarity, seeing solutions others miss. When chaos erupts, most people get trapped inside the emotional fog. Fear distorts their thinking. Urgency scrambles their judgment, and the need to do something overrides the ability to do the right thing. But a Sigma male operates differently. The moment a crisis hits, his mind shifts into analytical mode. Emotions don't disappear, but they move into the background, allowing logic to take the lead. He begins dissecting the situation piece by piece, removing panic from the equation like a surgeon cutting away damaged tissue. He focuses on facts, patterns, and outcomes rather than fear, blame, or confusion. This cold clarity becomes his weapon. While others are overwhelmed by the magnitude of the crisis, he is studying angles they never even thought to consider. In this mental state, time seems to slow for him. He notices the overlooked details, the small openings, the hidden leverage points, the behavioral cues that predict what will happen next. Where others see a wall, he sees structure. Where others see an emergency, he sees a puzzle. His brain begins mapping scenarios at rapid speed. If this fails, what's next? If that person panics, how does the group shift? If this path closes, where's the alternative? It's not guesswork, it's pattern recognition, sharpened over years of watching life unfold quietly from the sidelines. His detachment doesn't make him heartless, it makes him effective. A crisis is no place for sentiment, it's a place for precision. As people scramble, make mistakes, or shut down completely, the Sigma finds clarity in the very confusion that paralyzes others. He sees solutions not because he is smarter, but because he is quieter internally. He doesn't drown in the noise of the moment. He listens to what the crisis is actually telling him. And from that stillness, the answer begins to form. Clean, simple, unexpected. When he speaks, his suggestion often sounds almost too obvious in hindsight, the kind of solution people think they should have seen, but didn't. That's the Sigma effect. He uncovers the path no one else recognized until he illuminated it. And the moment his solution works, the moment the situation begins to stabilize, the risk begins to shift, the panic begins to fade, people realize something unsettling. He wasn't lucky. He wasn't guessing. He was seeing clearly in a moment where they were blind. A Sigma male doesn't wait for crises to pass. He navigates them with a mind built to cut through fog. And in doing so, he reveals a level of insight that remains invisible until the world needs it most. He steps into leadership naturally, not by force. People follow him because he's steady. A Sigma male never asks to lead, never raises his hand, and never tries to command a room. Yet when chaos erupts and certainty disappears, something shifts around him. People instinctively gravitate toward the one presence that isn't shaking. While everyone else's emotions spike and fall, his steadiness becomes a silent signal, a lighthouse in a storm. He doesn't bark orders or fight for authority. He simply holds his ground with a calm so rare that others begin organizing themselves around him without realizing it. Leadership doesn't come to him through dominance. It comes because, in moments where everyone else loses their center, he remains unmovable. His leadership feels different. It's not loud or controlling, it's grounded. He speaks only when he has something meaningful to say, and every word carries weight because there is no panic behind it. He moves with deliberate precision, slow enough to remain thoughtful, fast enough to stay ahead. People follow him because he radiates composure when they need it most. They don't look to him for emotional reassurance. They look to him for direction that isn't distorted by fear. His steadiness becomes the anchor they didn't know they were searching for. The moment he steps slightly forward, not assertively, but confidently, the group shifts without hesitation. It's the kind of leadership you don't choose. It's the kind that chooses you. But what most never realize is that he steps into this role reluctantly. He doesn't crave authority or recognition. He doesn't want the spotlight. Instead, he sees leadership as a responsibility, something he carries because no one else can hold the line as firmly. He notices who is freezing, who is spiraling, who is overwhelmed. He stabilizes the group with a calm presence rather than force. His ability to assess, decide, and act comes from the clarity he forged in solitude long before the crisis ever appeared. When people see him stay composed while everything shakes, they feel their own tension loosen. And that subtle shift, that quiet transfer of steadiness, is what makes him a leader without ever asking to be one. By the time the crisis begins to resolve, people realize they were following him without thinking. It wasn't charisma that drew them. It wasn't authority or charm. It was reliability. It was the rare kind of presence that doesn't collapse under pressure. A Sigma doesn't lead because he wants to. He leads because in moments that demand strength, he's the only one who isn't afraid to stand still. He removes emotion from decision-making, allowing him to act while others freeze. When a crisis hits, most people experience the same internal collapse. Their thoughts blur, their anxiety spikes, and every choice feels like a trap. But the Sigma male's mind shifts in the opposite direction. Where others drown in emotion, he drains it out. His pulse steadies, his breathing slows, and the world around him sharpens into unmistakable clarity. It isn't detachment born from coldness. It's a disciplined instinct he's honed through years of navigating life from the outside. He doesn't let fear, pride, or panic cloud his judgment. Instead, he lets logic, pattern recognition, and instinct take over. This emotional neutrality gives him a staggering advantage. He can move precisely when others can't even think. While people freeze in hesitation, worrying about consequences, appearances, blame, or what others might think, he is already scanning the landscape, sorting variables, identifying exits, predicting reactions. His calm is not a performance, it is survival. He knows emotion is often an enemy in urgent moments, so he steps away from it entirely, almost as if he's watching the situation unfold from above. He observes the smallest details others miss: tone shifts, body language, resource placement, timing. Decision by decision, he moves with quiet certainty, filling the leadership vacuum left by those too overwhelmed to act. His lack of emotional interference becomes a weapon, silent, decisive, and incredibly effective. But this ability comes from a lifetime of choosing to think before reacting. He learned early that emotional spirals trap people, making them predictable and slow. So he trained himself to detach, to analyze, to question instead of panic. In high-pressure moments, he doesn't ask, "How do I feel?" He asks, "What needs to be done?" That single shift transforms him into the most capable person in the room. Others see only the outcome, his clear decisions, his steady movements, but they miss the internal discipline it took to reach that level of control. Emotion clouds, he clears. Emotion delays, he advances. Emotion distorts. He sees everything as it is. When the dust settles and everyone else is still catching their breath, he is already thinking several steps ahead. Not because he's heartless, but because he refused to let emotion rule him when it mattered most. His decisions carry the weight of precision rather than panic, and that is why, in every crisis, the Sigma becomes the one person who can cut through chaos with unshakable clarity. He adapts quickly, shifting strategy the moment reality changes. A Sigma male doesn't cling to plans the way most people do. While others panic when the situation shifts, holding on to outdated assumptions, trying to force their original plan to work, he pivots instantly. Adaptation is his instinct. Change doesn't intimidate him, it sharpens him. The moment new information appears, he updates his strategy like a system running on pure logic. There's no emotional resistance, no denial, no hesitation. He understands something most people ignore. In a crisis, survival belongs to the mind that moves fastest, not the one that wishes things were different. So when reality changes, he changes with it, treating unpredictability not as a threat, but as an opportunity to outmaneuver the moment. His adaptability comes from a lifetime of observing how people crumble under rigidity. He's watched others freeze because a plan failed, break down because expectations weren't met, or lose control because they didn't anticipate the unexpected. He learned early that the world doesn't care about your plans. It only responds to your ability to adjust. So he became skilled at reading the energy of a situation, catching subtle shifts long before anyone else notices. A tone changes, a door closes, a threat grows, a possibility appears. These tiny details become his early warnings, allowing him to adjust course before anyone understands what's happening. His brain doesn't ask, "Why is this happening?" It asks, "What's the next move?" While others waste time debating, doubting, or resisting, the Sigma is already acting on the newest version of reality. And his decisions appear almost supernatural because he moves in sync with the moment instead of fighting it. This makes him incredibly difficult to predict and nearly impossible to defeat. Whether the problem requires stealth, logic, emotional intelligence, or sheer speed, he switches modes effortlessly. His strength is not that he plans perfectly, but that he never clings to a plan that no longer fits the situation. And in the aftermath of chaos, people always notice something strange. The Sigma seemed unshaken not because everything went according to plan, but because he never needed it to. His flexibility becomes his stability. His willingness to adapt becomes his power. He succeeds where others fail, because he understands a truth that only the strongest minds accept. The crisis isn't the enemy. Inability to adapt is. He protects others by absorbing pressure without showing strain. A Sigma male can walk into a collapsing situation and somehow make everyone feel like the ground is still beneath their feet. He has a way of absorbing the tension in the room, the fear, the uncertainty, the rising panic, and locking it inside himself so no one else has to carry it. People don't always notice it in the moment, but they feel it. The energy stabilizes around him. Conversations slow down. Breathing evens out. Even when his own pulse is racing beneath the surface, he never lets that anxiety spill outward. His calm isn't just for him, it becomes a shield for the people around him. While others tremble under the weight of responsibility, he takes it quietly, steadying the atmosphere without ever announcing what he's doing. But this ability comes with a silent cost only he understands. He doesn't process pressure the way most people do, through venting, crying, or breaking down. Instead, he compresses it, reshaping it into focus. Problems that overwhelm others simply sharpen his mind. He feels the emotional storm, but he does not broadcast it. The people around him often assume he's unaffected, untouched by the stress that cripples everyone else. They don't see the invisible calculations running in his head, the emotional restraint he's applying, or the mental discipline required to keep the world from slipping into chaos. They only see the calm surface, and because of that, they lean on him even more. In moments of crisis, this quiet resilience becomes the difference between collapse and survival. He notices who is panicking and adjusts his voice to steady them. He senses when someone is about to break and redirects their focus before they crumble. He absorbs the emotional volatility in the room, preventing it from spreading like wildfire. It isn't heroism, it's instinct. A Sigma has never believed in adding noise to a situation already drowning in it. So he absorbs it instead, shouldering the pressure so others can think clearly, breathe evenly, and hold themselves together long enough to get through the moment. And the irony is that while people often forget to thank him, sometimes they don't even realize what he did, they always remember how he made them feel, safer, steadier, less alone in the chaos. They remember the man who didn't snap under pressure, who didn't panic when everyone else did, who didn't crumble even when the weight should have broken him. They remember the one who held the line. That is the Sigma's most invisible skill. Not that he survives pressure, but that he carries enough for everyone. He becomes the stabilizing force everyone relies on, revealing a strength nobody saw before the crisis. When everything around him starts to fracture, voices rising, tempers flaring, logic dissolving, the Sigma male does something no one expects. He becomes the calm, gravitational center everyone unconsciously orbits. People who barely noticed him before suddenly find themselves looking in his direction, searching for cues in his tone, his posture, his silence. He doesn't ask for this role, and he certainly doesn't chase it. It happens the same way gravity happens, naturally, quietly, without negotiation. While others feel themselves slipping into panic, he stands firm, and the contrast is so striking that even those who once dismissed him now instinctively move closer. In the storm, he becomes the only place that feels steady. But the real power isn't just his calm. It's what that calm unlocks in others. When he speaks, it isn't loud or dramatic, it's grounded. His voice cuts through noise without ever rising above it. His instructions don't feel like commands, they feel like direction given by someone who already understands the entire landscape. Even people who outrank him, outtalk him, or outshine him fall into sync with his pace. His steadiness rewires the room. Panic turns to coordination. Fear becomes focus. Chaos bends toward structure. And in that transformation, people finally see the strength he's carried all along, the strength that never needed to be displayed until the world was shaking. What makes him extraordinary is that his leadership isn't born from ego, it's born from competence. He doesn't care about being admired. He cares about solving the problem. He doesn't seek credit, he seeks resolution. And because of that, people trust him more deeply than they trust those who shout the loudest or step forward first. They watch how he absorbs tension without breaking. They notice how he analyzes without hesitation. They see how he keeps the group from spiraling. His stability becomes their stability. His composure becomes their anchor. Without ever claiming authority, he becomes the one everyone leans on. Because in crisis, people follow the person who can still think. When it's all over and the dust begins to settle, that's when the realization hits hardest. The quietest man in the room was the strongest all along. The one who never demanded attention becomes the one no one can forget. The Sigma doesn't reveal his strength through words or performances. He reveals it through presence, clarity, and control when it matters most. And once people witness that, they never look at him the same way again. When the crisis fades and life returns to normal, most people go back to their routines, but they don't forget the Sigma. They remember the stillness he brought into the chaos, the clarity he offered when everyone else collapsed, the strength he revealed without ever raising his voice. That's the difference with him. His power isn't loud until the world needs it. And once you've seen it, you understand why Sigma males are underestimated in peace, but indispensable in disaster. His calm becomes a lesson. His strategy becomes a blueprint, and his presence becomes something you look for even when things are stable, because now you know what it feels like to rely on someone who never breaks. Before you go, I want to hear from you. In a crisis, are you the one who panics or the one who thinks? Your answer says more about your wiring than you realize. And if you want more insights into Sigma psychology, silent strength, and the mindset that thrives under pressure, subscribe to UltraWise so you never miss what's coming next.